do even normal children with no developmental disorder, about development, that I will come to that later, do even normal children with no developmental disorder suffer behavioral problems due to stress? When parents approach you with children having behavioral problems, how do you deal with them? Just through counseling or through medication?
Well, Mr. Balram, it is the normal children who have far more behavioral problems. Developmentally disabled children have different kind of problems. All these issues of temper tantrums, extreme shyness. You know, there is a simple condition we call selective mutism. Selective mutism are those children who will zip their mouth in front of others. It's very common. Parents will say the child is so garrulous at home, and the minute it goes to school or sees outsiders, zip. They don't open their mouth. They don't. Now, this is a very, you know what age we see selective mutism as a kind of a stress disorder? 2 to 3 years. As young as that. Yes. And then you have this non-compliant children who don't listen, you know, they cry and, you know, misbehave. These are discipline issues which goes on to what is called as oppositional defiant. I'll defy you. Let me see what you can do. Is again, it emerges out of stress. It's not that the child is born with all this. It's the environment which is creating them to do all these. Of course, the major way we do handle is by counseling, by parents. We tell them to set limits. We have to do reinforcement therapy. What is the child like? We guide the parents, the school, and sort of people to how to handle. Medication is for very, very extreme degree of non-compliance, or, you know, the oppositional defiant, or only other condition which is very commonly seen in normal children because they are normal intelligent, is what's called attention deficit disorder, which is on a big rise. Well, attention deficit disorders, we do resort to medication if the children are over 8 years.
I will come to that because I have questions on that. Let us take a small break here, Dr. Nandini. On return, let me ask you about children with developmental disorder like attention deficit, as you said, hyperactivity, autism, learning difficulty, etc. Hi listeners, please stay tuned. I will be right back. This is the first segment over, madam. Huh?
Yes, I am ready.
Second segment now. Welcome back, Dr. Nandini. Dr. Nandini, what are the challenges that parents face while dealing with children with developmental disabilities?
Let me tell you what are developmental disabilities. Developmental disabilities are disabilities arising in the growing phase of the child. Now, this can have onset even during pregnancy, usually after the child is born and they have a premature baby, or baby who's had some kind of stress or early infection, anything to do with brain insult, which can lead to developmental disabilities. What's unfortunate for it is brain is one tissue, unlike skin or liver, doesn't grow. So if we have a neuron which is damaged, we really lose the function of that, and that's what happens. What is nice to know is the brain has a huge reserve capacity. So we can sort of have the brain to accommodate, adjust to those neurons, you know, if we have a program or the brain stimulation program. And also very important I would like the viewers to know this, because it's important to know that early brain is what we call as neuroplastic. What we mean by neuroplastic is it can connect. You know, it's like a computer. The more connections you make, the more perfect you are, or the better you function. And that capability exists in young children. Would you be, I'm sure you know, Mr. Balram, that the brain grows maximum in the first 3 years. Yes. By 90% we are finished. So whatever
crucial period.
Yes, so whatever disabilities we have to deal with, if we can identify them very early and deal before 3 years, we give a good chance for these children to be as near normal as possible, depending upon the severity of the disease. So some of the common problems which is emerging, like it's very obvious. Now what happens is anything to do with movement, like a child who cannot walk, sit, parents are very sensitive, will come to the doctor because they see it. Anything to do with disease, disorders which are called hidden handicaps, for example, hearing impairment. These children can scale anything in the world like a normal child, provided we detect them early. So if a child doesn't turn to sound, doesn't respond early, or even I think preventively to hearing check is very important for these kids. You know, we can.
So parents should keep a watch on this.
Absolutely, you know, they, and not just watch, they are aware, they should seek help. They wait and watch at home, which is what is causing the problem. You know, they should seek help as early as possible.
3 years crucial. Within that period, please.
Hearing impairment, please be sensitive by 6 to 9 months. You know, and another thing we should know is, you know, like any other, there's a window period in the brain which opens up to taking faster information. For language development, it's from 18 months onwards till about 2 to 3 years or 4 years, you know. At that age, if you have a language disorder, which is the most common hidden disorder in our country, and parents keep thinking, it'll get all right. In Kannada say, balita balita vasyagat, nothing will happen. If you have a language, so let me give 3 important milestones for language. A child by 1 year should be able to respond, look at you, take simple instructions, should say strings of consonants, mama, mama, papa, papa. You know, by 18 months, they must have at least 5 to 10 words. By 2 years, 50 words. And combination, amma go, dada office. This is by 2 years. And by 3 years, 500 words and sentences. See how rapid. And if you, this is normal milestones. I am really emphasizing because language disorders are missed very badly and parents come at 4 years, 5 years and the child has lost out the ability. And the rising problem of today is a condition called childhood autism.
I was coming to that. I want to ask you, what exactly is autism and what facilities do we have here with you?
Childhood autism is one of a recently I shouldn't say discovered, a phenomena which has got an exponential growth all over the world. People are struggling in USA, I've just come from Canada, which have come back everywhere. What is the condition in these children is, these children don't socialize. These children don't socialize. That is, they don't, when you call them, they won't respond to you. They won't come like, you know, interact with you, that pick me up or give me, children who cry and want, you know, consolation or play with you, or they're in the world of their own, which is not interacting. And because of that, they don't communicate. They don't feel the necessity. Some of them are so smart, even a 2-year-old can pick up its own water and drink, eat its own food and, you know, open the door. They're so self-sufficient, but they don't interact with people. Because of that, then they can't go to school, they don't have friends, they don't mix up with other children.
What leads to autism?
Well, nobody really knows. They say that some gene mutation is the most common theory, and we say the environment to some extent. Is it allowing this gene to show up in the day? Well, nobody exactly knows, but all that we know is there is, the Western statistics is 1 in 150 children. If I say 150 children, I'll have one of them as autistic. That's a lot of number.
What about India?
India, we really don't have, we haven't done research on statistics, but I'm one of the person who really deals with it for the whole country. But every week, at least I get 2 to 3 referrals. So that's a large number. And
how do you treat these children?
The treatment of these children is a program to establish socialization. Skills first to develop socialization and communication. There is no medication for this unless the child, if you leave the children alone, then they get a various psychiatric complications of bipolar, OCD. That's much later, and that's a too later stage. But if you discover them early, and a parental program for counseling and telling parents how do we develop communication, you can do wonders.
Dr. Nandini, I believe you have developed an assessment kit for early diagnosis of such disorder in children.
Yes.
Can you just say something about
that? Yeah, it's a kit called Early Intervention Developmental Profile, which really gives us the profile of children at various ages, and we can detect, if the children are not doing. Now, like the brain grows in 5 areas. Gross motor is walking, running. Fine motor is everything to do with hand functions. writing, third is language, fourth is intelligence, fifth is emotions. And at every age, we are expected to attain a certain degree of milestones in this. And depending on this, that is below the third percentile of the children are. So we have developed a kit which gives us assessment.
So can parents have this kit?
No, it's not meant for the parents, it's meant for the professionals. Parents will, once we assess, we tell them that where the children are and how they come into the program.
You guys